Hello, Mark. We're here the last day of the ICT Observatory, and we had very interesting discussions the past days. And I would like to ask you or discuss with you the topic about social networks, or let's say networks in Africa, and how you can use and implement them. And especially, you already mentioned that in your project, you really want to go in that direction using mobiles and the web for farmers and to bring farmers and traders together. So what do you think is the role of these networks or the potentials in the futures?
Well, I think it's really interesting that we've been through a period of 3 or 4 years where networks seem to be one of the most compelling and interesting uses of the web or the Web 2.0. And we've experienced Facebook and Twitter and these other, MySpace. And just sort of sitting in Africa, where we're working in Africa and we're working in commerce and trade, well, it's all about social networks. You're trading with individuals that you know, that is perhaps a friend or an associate or somebody within your village, that there is some identity that you can associate with them, and there is an element of trust. And so it's just intriguing to consider if we took some of those principles of Facebook, of Twitter, of MySpace, and we used it in an environment where actually social networks are even stronger. Does that mean that they are more or less appropriate? And I think that's what's fascinating us. And certainly in the case of European trade, or me as a businessman in America, I didn't need to know the person that I was trading with. I was working within a legislative framework. I was working where standards and grades existed, and we knew who and what we were trading. In Africa, if you're trading something, how do you ensure that you get paid? How do you ensure that the item that you're trading is what you have agreed upon? How do you ensure that these things are what they say they are? And you use networks as a way to reinforce in this informal sector that kind of commerce and trade. And I think that's where we're looking at using technology to reinforce those networks and make it easier for you to extend your networks beyond perhaps the geography or immediate linkages that you currently experience.
And what do you think in terms of, if you look at these networks all over the world, they're very social. So the physical presence, the face-to-face exchange is very important. To which extent do you think it is possible to do something over the website when it comes to something serious as trade and business to business, or even through mobile phones? And how?
Well, I don't think you do trade over the web. I don't think that's what happens. But I think it's about how do you exploit some of your social capital using the web. I don't think that means everything suddenly happens on the web. I don't think we're going to see e-commerce anytime soon. But how do I connect with somebody who might be in a different village further away? If somebody has said that they have a product that I'm interested in, how can I use some networking tool to get closer to that person, to establish some identity or some reputation? Perhaps I might find somebody that I already know in their community, and I can ask them, do you know so-and-so? Are they trustworthy? Can I send them the money before they send me the product? I think that's the way. It's a little more complex. It's about minimizing risk. You're using social networking and you're using technology to minimize your risk, not to replace complete transactional activities, which will still be, if not face-to-face, it will be mouth-to-mouth. You will be negotiating, you will be arguing, you will be qualifying the deal. But you can certainly use technology to use society and use linkages as ways of minimizing your risk, in the same way that Grameen with finance and loans has leveraged your community, your network, to create social pressure on you to pay back during certain periods or on certain dates. In the same way, we can use social networks to create peer pressure so that you're not abusing a trade or commerce relationship in a similar way with a stranger.
Wow, very interesting. You also told me that you, for detail, for implementation, that you think about reputation. The keyword is reputation. Can you imagine something like experiences from eBay, from rating and reputation? To which extent could that work in such a with ICT, and especially also what could be the role of mobile phones then?
Well, I think that people trade in Africa based on reputation. They know that I may not even get the best price from this person, but I know that I'll get paid, and I know that I'll get paid quickly. These are the sorts of reputations that are important when you're choosing who might I trade with. So the fact is that I think people in Africa, more or less, are just simply not digitized. They don't exist in a database. They may have a SIM card. Do they have a phone number? Yes. Do they have a postal address, or are they in an electoral register? These things are beginning, but in effect they aren't accessible. You can't find a profile to find out whether this person has abused previous trading relationships or not. So I think that as we profile people and put them into these databases and digitize communities, we can associate content, observations, and commentary about them that can help other people interact with them and again reduce their risk. Now, whether in the simplest form that might mean are you allowing the community to rank and rate an individual? We don't know. It's, I think, a very dangerous game to be in, because people may have all kinds of reasons why they might want to rank you and rate you that are not particularly objective. So I think we need to think very carefully about who can rank who under what circumstances. How can we keep it objective? Do we have particular agents or brokers that have greater weighting or ranking to their own ranking of other individuals? But very simply, you could see a system whereby I, on a mobile phone, could enter the mobile phone of the person I'm trading with and just establish, does the person exist? Are they on a system somewhere? How long have they been on that system? If they've been on for 3 weeks, can I trust them? But if they've been on for 3 years, maybe there's some more credibility there. And can you tell me how many complaints have been approved by brokers within that platform, so that I can see that there is quite some risk in doing a trade with this person? So very much like eBay, 73% score because 300 people have ranked this person and had a positive experience. That introduction of reputation into markets in Africa will have a profound impact on expanding circles of trade.
And that means, of course, more sales for products and more...
Yes, I think it's not only about trying to push product out of Africa to the rest of the world. It's within Africa, it's within the sub-regions, it's between Ghana and Burkina that we find trade breaking down, because there are barriers of language, barriers of trust, barriers of regulation, and that a great deal of thinking is being emphasized on how do we create intra-regional trade, so that the wealth can be retained within these African communities, that we can increase production, that we can increase demand within national consumer populations. And as such, I think these tools and these technologies can play a very important role in facilitating that and allowing cross-border trade with people that you might not have traded before. Even if it just means, how do I convert a price into my currency? That, you know, in northern regions of Ghana, where you're trying to understand what the price is in Burkina, it's in French and it's in CFA and in their currency, and so it's very difficult to kind of compare, should I go a few extra kilometers and buy or sell that product? Technology can be used, and it will be on the mobile, to break down those kinds of barriers of language and currency, so that you can judge for yourself what is the opportunity that is presented.
Thank you very much, it was very interesting.